Kathak is an Indian classical dance form. India has 8 classical dance forms, and Kathak is the only dance form that comes from the northern part of India. The word Kathak comes from the word Katha. Katha means a story. A person who tells the story is a storyteller, and the storyteller in our language is called a Kathak. Kathak is an amalgamation of 3 performing arts: the music, the dance, and the drama. When the 3 merge, a Kathak is born. The history of Kathak, or the evolutionary process of Kathak, is very interesting. It started as a folk dance. Kathak dancers used to go from one village to another, telling stories about what they had seen and passing on information from one segment of the society to another. They used to have their instruments attached to them in bags, where they would have the tabla or the sarangi or the percussion, whichever percussion instrument they preferred. They would travel telling stories. They were a success in the villages because it was in a folk form. The pandits in the temples invited these Kathakars to come and narrate stories within the boundaries of the temple. Here the context or the content of what was being said and danced to was changed. The Pandits gave them the Purans, the Vedas, the stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana. Once they entered the boundaries of the temple, temple dancing in Kathak was introduced. This is the second stage of Kathak. Here, dance was more mythologically oriented. The focus was the gods and the goddesses. With the coming of the Mughals, these Kathakars were then invited into the Mughal courts. Once again, the philosophy changed, the content changed, the history and the literature changed. The Mughals wanted to use dance more for entertainment rather than the spirituality. The fashion, the clothing, the jewelry, the instruments, everything went through a change. Even the language. Urdu was introduced to it. Technique was focused. There was focus on technique so that the entertainment value of Kathak was enhanced. With the coming of the British, dance was forbidden. Dancers who had matured during the era of the Mughal emperors in India had now to stop their profession. These dancers could not dance anymore, which means that there was no means of earning. Many dancers were pushed into prostitution. This is the time when these nautch girls, as they were called, preserved the culture. Nothing was written or coded. Nothing was preserved or archived. These nautch girls have a great contribution to preserving the art form, the heritage, the stylization, the thought, the evolutionary process, everything was encompassed. They started teaching their own family members because openly they could not share their art with anybody. The concept of gharanas started to grow here. Gharana comes from the word ghar or home. So they started home tutoring, and many of their own children or cousins were learning dance from them, and the concept of local gharanas or local schools started. The 3 gharanas that evolved in the northern part of India were based in Lucknow, Jaipur and Banaras. Jaipur, being in the northern frontier of India, was focused more on the warrior-like movements. Parans and things, concepts of kavits were introduced. Aggressive movements were a part of their gharana. More of footwork and spins were the peculiarity of the Jaipur gharana. Lucknow gharana dealt with the minute, delicate movements. The ethos, the romance, the shringar, all that was developed more so in the Lucknow gharana. The Banaras gharana, being on the banks of the river Ganga, had the spirituality aspect which was developed. Thumris, which were based on bol banana, was something that was a speciality of that particular gharana. The 3 gharanas, though were not isolated, but still had their own style and built their own repertoire which was now being passed on through the Guru Shishya Parampara for generations. Post-independence, our leaders realized that the spirituality and the content that was passed on, the legacy that was passed on from generations, needed to be nurtured. They invited the gurus now to come out and come and teach the younger generation and pass this information and knowledge with freedom that was the need of the country. Sangeet Natak Academy and many such institutes within India were built, established, and they are flourishing even today. It's good to be in a country where culture is preserved, practiced, and propagated.
I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I will be uploading a new video every Wednesday. So, subscribe to this channel and stay connected. You can also like, comment, share, and send your feedback. Happy dancing!